You can see this Altria here. I'm taking a look at the daily. It's obviously getting killed, but I'm actually quite bullish on this in the long term for this potential setup here. I want to zoom out here to a monthly, and I mean, you can see this thing just keeps, I mean, it's in an uptrend, right? I mean, it's one of the most famous stocks of all time. Marlboro cigarettes, Philip Morris, the old Phillip Morris. So, come on. I don't know if you can count this thing out just yet. I'm looking at something bullish here. You want to see it? Let's kind of zoom in here on a monthly chart, okay? All right, let's take a full screen here. All right, this is what I think could be bullish. You've got this, and then you've got one of these, and then maybe, well, look at that. I mean, what if that thing holds? So, you know what that means. If you get any kind of a move up here, you could really get one of these. And that would be a continuation of this long, long uptrend, so check that out. You would have a $8 to 30, what is that, 5-ish, call it 50-ish. So let's call it 10 to 50, right? So that's $40. So you could go from 50 to plus 40, 90, maybe $100. All right, and anything that could make that happen would be like cannabis legislation going in their favor. And I mean, I know the JUUL thing, but listen to this JUUL. Here's what I think's going on. Philip Morris wants to buy Altria. Philip Morris is the international one they just spun off. And Philip Morris, Marlboro already knows that they're going to have problems with the JUUL. They already wrote that thing off. They wrote off basically the whole investment, maybe 50% of it. There's not that much more to write off. They had to write off that in Kronos like 2 years ago. They got the Philip Morris e-cig thing. It's like it's totally different than vaping, and it's like a smokeless tobacco, not a smokeless tobacco. What do they call it here? Non-combustible tobacco. Okay, so it's real tobacco, but you don't ignite it. It kind of, it's something, it vaporizes it somehow. I don't know, but it's not a vape. It's not a liquid fuel that vaporizes, right? So that Philip Morris has got the patent rights to that. Altria, I'm sure they just want to sell that thing. They probably want this to happen so that they have an excuse to write off JUUL. JUUL goes into the dustbin of history, and maybe some of the other e-cigs too, but it relinquishes, it just eliminated its biggest competitor. So Marlboro tried to buy their biggest competitor to cigarettes, which was e-cigs or vapes or whatever this juuling stuff is. And it didn't work out. So now maybe Altria wants to just eliminate them. Just, you look on the plus side. They just eliminated their biggest competitor, the cigarettes, okay? Now the thing is tilted in their favor. So if they can get this combustible nicotine thing going and then somehow incorporate cannabis with that, with cannabis legislation goes in their favor, this could easily be $100 stock. I mean, come on. It would be no questions asked. You'd pay $100 for that thing. So check out that monthly. I mean, look at it again here. Look at this. I mean, this is the this move, right? You know this one. Look at that. You know what that is. Come on, you've seen that before. All right. So what do we want to see? Look, I'll tell you what. You want to see this thing not go below right here, yeah? So you're going to want to stop in here, so if this thing goes south, I mean, you're out of here. Probably. So, and easily, look what could happen here. I mean, you could easily get a move down to here and then the move, right? I mean, this red line, check this thing out. We zoom way out. There's no, I mean, look, we got the yellow line, hit it right there. So you could get a move down to this yellow line and then a move. Maybe. Any of that's possible if this thing don't work. So just make sure you put your stop in there around 35-ish or so. Here's a plan. If you want to get big, I do. I want to get bigger into this, like pretty big, because it pays over 8%. So, I mean, imagine if you had $100,000, and you put all of it into Altria. you'd be making 8 grand a year. Okay. So, it's not gonna, you're not moving to Tahiti on that. But listen, it's better than anything else you can get out there. So, and if you got more money than that, you can obviously see where that scale comes in there. So you don't want to go crazy into this, but you do want to get, as big as you can as you want to. So maybe you take a little bit here, maybe you work your way in. Maybe if this thing just starts to turn on a dime right here from 41 and a half, you average up to get size on. You got to play it by ear here, but definitely you want to take it slow. You don't want to buy all right now. You got to give yourself room here. But you definitely want to have a plan for if it goes lower, you want to be real small. Now, if it starts to tick up from 41 and a half, and 41 and a half is the low, you want to get in pretty quick. So you're going to need to see, like, if it really starts to just kind of, if you see it bottom on a monthly right there, and that this thing really is it, and you start to see something edge up right there, you're going to want to have to get in there pretty quick. I'll tell you what, where the line in the sand is, that's not it. You want to see where the line in the sand is? It's, I'd say like right-ish there-ish. So call that 50. If you start poking up above 50, I mean, you really want to get the size on that you want right there above 50. And then, you got to, move up your stop from right here, move it up to like right there on some of that additional size you put on or all of it, and then as it keeps ticking up, keep putting your stop up there until, you get clear of this whole thing, the risk of this happening, right? You don't want to risk that. That's bad news, okay? So get the size on that you want. Figure out beforehand what you would like to make as steady income. Let's say if you have only $100,000 portfolio, you've saved up $100,000, you lived in your parents' basement, you've been the ridicule of your entire peer group because you save all your money and trade with it because you have some fanciful notion of being independently driven for the rest of your life and not working for some corporation. I sound like I've been there. So if you got some money like that saved up, think of the number that you want as steady income. And I would count Marlboro as steady income. The risk is that we're going through some kind of phase shift in society. Like, look, people have been smoking since, no, society looks pretty much exactly the way it does since World War II. 1940s. There is literally nothing different about most of human life. I know we have the internet and this and that, but listen, our trash still gets collected by a big truck that burns diesel fuel outside of our driveways, all right? We still have grocery stores. We still drive automobiles. We still go to movie theaters, maybe not so much, but, more or less. Our entertainment looks the same. We're still obsessed with Hollywood. Watch those peoples in the 40s and 50s. I mean, they were obsessed with Hollywood too. Everything is still the same. So unless we're going through a phase shift, right? And just 20 years before 1940s-ish, post World War II, the world looked drastically different. That's the thing. We've looked the same for like 70, 80 years, but the world before 1940s looked drastically different. Even 70 years before, you still had the aristocracy in Europe and England running things. It looked entirely different. The telephone wasn't even a thing. I mean, electricity wasn't even widely available. So you're talking about, and vastly different. Now, the risk to Marlboro is that we're going through one of those phase shifts where things are, this isn't just, a continuation of the 1940 post World War II to now, that this is really a big phase shift in civilization, and that we're going from, non-steam engine world to the steam engine world to the electricity to industrial produced goods to the telephone. I mean, we're going into that where the aristocracy dies. Okay. But it's like a world war that's got to happen. So hopefully we're not there. But yeah, that could happen. So, use your stops. All right. Take it easy out there. Thanks for watching.